Did you ever feel so bad inside?
Hello guys, today we will discuss about impact of IT in audit process.
Audit objective and scope of work in computerized environment. Overall objectives and scope of an audit do not change whether the audit engagement is carried out in a manual or a computerized environment. As we know that the audit objective are existence and completeness, rights and obligations, valuations, and presentations and disclosures. These are the impact of computerized environment to audit approach. High speed. Information can be generated quickly in computerized environment. This enables the auditor to extend their analytical review with high speed of operation. Auditor can expand their substantive procedures for collection of audit evidence. Low clerical error. Systematic and sequential program course of action where the errors is reduced. Concentration of duties. Computer programs perform more than one activity at a time. Thus, auditors can concentrate the duties of several personnel involved in the work. Other impacts of computerized environments to audit approach are shifting of internal control base, disappearance of manual reasonableness, impact of post system, exception reporting, and man-machine interface. Moreover, these are the impact of computerized environment to business transactions. Process of recording transactions. In an IT environment, entries, ledgers, and financial statements are recorded simultaneously. Form of accounting records. Technologies mostly results in the abandonment of part or whole primary records. Use of loose-leaf stationeries. Handwritten records are now replaced with electronic devices such as hard disk. Use of accounting code. Use of codes may pose understanding problems to auditors who are not familiar. Absence of link between transactions. Inadequacy of cross-reference between records and documents may make it difficult for auditor to trace the transaction. We know that the use of a computer changes the processing, storage, retrieval, and communication of financial information. This may affect the accounting and internal control systems employed by the entity. Auditors need to consider the following factors: extent of use of computers for preparing accounting information, efficacy of internal control over input, processing, analysis, and reporting in computerized environment, and the impact of computerization on audit trail. The approach in computerized environment provides the following: skill and competence, planning, risk assessment, and documentation. Skill and competence. The auditor needs to have sufficient knowledge of computer information systems to perform audit work. Sufficiency of knowledge depends on the nature and extent of computerized environment. The auditor may seek for assistance from experts of computerized skills. Planning. The auditor needs to obtain understanding of accounting and internal control system to determine the audit procedures. The understanding process involves computer information system infrastructure, significance and complexity of computerized processing, determination of organizational structure of the client, determine the extent of availability of data in computerized information system. The nature of the risk in an IT environment provides the following: lack of transaction trails. Some information systems provides a complete transaction trail for only a short period of time or in a computer readable form. Uniform processing of transactions. If programming errors exist, all the transactions will be processed incorrectly. Lack of segregations of functions. Many controls becomes concentrated in computerized environment. This makes data processing incompatible functions. Potential for errors and irregularities. Individuals may gain unauthorized access to data without visible evidence. Other risks in IT environments are initiation of transactions, dependence of other controls over computer processing, increased management supervision, and use of computer-assisted audit techniques. When evaluating the reliability of accounting and internal control system, the auditor should consider whether the system ensure authorized, correct, and complete data is available, provide for timely detection and correction of errors, ensure accuracy and completeness of output, provide adequate data security against the threat, and prevent unauthorized amendments to the program. The auditor, in accordance with ISA 315, should make an assessment of inherent and control risks for material financial statement assertions. The risks may result from deficiencies in program development and maintenance, system software support, operations, and physical computerized environment security. As the new technologies are emerging, further considerations needs to be made by the auditors. Documentation. The auditor should document audit plan, nature, timing, and extent of audit procedures performed and the conclusions made from the evidence obtained. Some audit evidence may be in electronic form in IT environment. The auditors also have to ensure the evidence is adequately and safely stored and retrievable when required.
Internal control in IT environment. IT environment exists when computers are being used and involved in processing of financial information that operated by the entity or third parties. There are 5 components in internal control that affected by IT environment, which are assignment of authority and responsibility, human resource policies and practices, information processing, segregation of duties, and physical control. Firstly, in assignment of authority and responsibility, clear lines of authority and responsibility are important to make sure the entity's objectives are met. All data are centralized to the administrator and users from different departments can easily access to the particular database. Second, human resource policies and practices. The entity needs a competent staff in related field, which is IT, in order to operate the system used, and an effective training is needed to make sure the staff require the knowledge. Third is information processing, that divided into two, which are authorization of transaction. That means that many authorization for transaction are using a system and may be a part of the system program. And the second one is the keeping of adequate documents and records. Hard copy and audit trail may not be available as everything may be recorded in the system. Fourth is segregation of duties. A person may perform multiple tasks for process of a transaction as it is easier and less costly when using a computerized system. For an example, is one person may do an initiation, authorization, and recording of the transaction. Last but not least is physical control. In IT environment, physical control may not be applicable as records are stored electronically and can be accessible through the computer terminals. There are two types of control that been used in IT environment. General control that relate to overall control information processing environment and operational control applied to the processing of individual accounting application. In general control, it is divided into four. The first one is data center and network operation. No unauthorized access to the system, files, and system documentation. And the operator of the system need to be rotated and all files should be properly backed up. Secondly is system software acquisition, change, and maintenance controls. System software is a system that controls the computer function and the application program to run. Strong controls help to ensure the proper use for purchases of new system, changes, and maintenance of existing software. Thirdly is access security control. Only the authorized personnel that allowed to access the computers. This control also includes the physical protection of computer, software, and data that available in the entity's companies. And the last one is application system acquisition, development, and maintenance controls. Controls on application system is critical to ensure reliability of the information processing. Involvement of internal and external auditors in designing the system will be better to make sure a proper control of system. Next will be application control. The first one is control over input. It is to ensure the transaction properly authorized before being processed by the computer. And also, it is to ensure transactions are accurately converted into machine-readable form and recorded to the computer data files. Next, it will be to ensure the transactions are not lost, added, duplicated, and modified, and also to ensure incorrect transactions are rejected, corrected, and resubmitted. Secondly, in application control is control over processing and computer data files. It is to ensure that all transactions key in being processed by the computer and data files properly stored and processing errors are identified and corrected in a timely basis. And the last one is control over output. It is designed to provide reasonable assurance that results of processing are accurate, access to output is restricted to authorized personnel, and output is provided to appropriate authorized personnel on a timely basis. Auditing through computer-assisted audit techniques, CATs. The nature of CATs, it is a tools that auditors use to help them gather, select, analyze, and report audit findings. CATs are useful in asking bizarre questions in order to detect frauds or confirmation that control weaknesses that have not been exploited. There are basically six types of CATs, which are generalized audit software, custom audit software, test data, integrated test facility, parallel simulation, and concurrent auditing techniques. For generalized audit software, GAS, it is the most common tool used by an entity. It is a software that has been designed to read, process, and analyze data to identify errors, omission, and anomalies and used in gathering audit evidence rather than documenting. There are basically two types of GAS, which is Audit Common Language and Interactive Data Extraction and Analysis. Next is Custom Audit Software. It is generally a software that written by auditors for specific audit tasks. It is used when the entity's computer system does not compatible with auditor's GAS or the auditor want to conduct a test that may not be possible for GAS. Test data or TD involves the auditor preparation of a series of fictitious systems, then examines the result whether the errors were detected by the client system or not. Fourth, Integrated Test Facility or ITF is an automated ongoing technique that enables the auditor to test an application's logic and controls during its normal operation. Fifth, Parallel Simulation or PS is a process of simulating data processing with a set of data from client and compare the result of simulation with the client system results. Lastly, concurrent auditing techniques or CAT. It is a tool that auditors use to collect audit evidence on the reliability of computer-based application system at the same time when the application system carries out live operational processing of transaction data.
I will discuss about factors that the auditor have to consider in using computer-assisted audit techniques or CATs. The first one is cost of using CATs. Whether the cost related to using CATs in auditing activities is reasonable with the level of work or not. Next is the only way to find evidence is by using CATs. Auditors cannot find any other way in searching for available evidence unless with an aid of CATs. Third, condition and capability of computer in using CATs. Whether the hardware available for the auditor at the current time can support CATs or not. Next is time efficiency in preparing report. The auditor need to prepare a report within comparatively short time and may be more efficient if he or she is using CATs. Last but not least, the ability of CATs in performing audit. Whether the CATs can perform audit tests on various types of items in the financial statement or not. Next, I will discuss about auditing software that can be used. The first one is Audit Express. Audit Express focus on improving time taken, quality control of an audit, cost reduction, and operational efficiency. The software analyzes the client financial data and transform into a ready platform for easier audit work. Next is SEL data analysis software. Data extraction and analysis software that helps in detecting weakness and fraud by sampling a set of large data and finds irregularities in transactions. Last but not least, IDEA software. It is designed to help in accounting and financial professionals by importing data from any source and analyze huge sets of data. In addition, users can make report findings using visualization tools and automate repeatable without having to use any programming.
Next, let me present to you the topics of assessing risks of IT, which is information technology. Firstly, let me tell you the risks of information technology. Risks arise from the nature in computer information system from first one, lack of transaction trail. It may only available for short period or not in form of computer readable form. It is difficult to detect on a timely basis, while too complex transaction with a high volume will lead to the occurrence of error in application's program logic. Next, potential of errors and irregularities. Higher possibility of unauthorized access to data without visible evidence, and it may reduce the check and balance activities since the human involvement is not much needed and may cause error unable to be detected. The third one is ease of access to data and computer programs. It can easily be accessed and altered at other computer or from remote location. the auditor should come up with appropriate control measure to prevent it from occur. Next, lack of visible output. Certain transaction or result may not be printed, or it can make the reviewer or auditor in need to access data retained on files readable only by computer. Absence of input document. Data might be entered into the systems although it does not have supporting documents. And lastly, risk due to complex application. Integrated data between departments within organization and with other organization may increase the risk and require further consideration. Go. So, this is the risk assessment process. Let me tell you from the first stage. Prepare activities to assess risk. To set purpose for risk assessment, which are audit planning, budgeting, compliance, disaster planning, policy writing, remediation, and vendor selection. The second stage is identify and characterize the most important asset, such as valuable information, risks that can negatively affect valuable information and controls, which it is refers to mitigating factors to protect asset from risk. Thirdly, choose a consistent scale to rate the importance of assets, the potential impact of risk, and the effectiveness of controls and countermeasures if problems occur. Last but not least, define whether the risk assessment activities serve its objective as planned. The next topic is test data. Test data can be defined as data that being used by the auditor to test the operation of the enterprise computer program. Auditor uses test data primarily for testing the application controls in the entity's computer programs. For an example, auditor creates a set of simulated data which include both valid data and invalid data. Then, the auditor manually calculates the result from the simulated data. With the simulation data entered into the entity's computer program, valid data should be properly processed and invalid data should be identified as error. The results are compared to the auditor's predetermined result. And the second example is unauthorized password may be used in an attempt to gain entry, transaction with incorrect coding, and transaction with non-existing customer or suppliers. This to ensure that the system is properly rejects invalid transactions. E-commerce is the act of rendering effective commercial transaction which links two entities who are the customer and the supplier by using the internet as a medium to establish the information and communication channel between those two entities. The implementation and management of commercial activities relating to goods and services by converting data over the internet or similar technical systems. So, what is the impact on audit process? Auditing financial statements of e-business as according to generally accepted auditing standards, GAAP, gives many challenges to the auditors. Current GAAP contends with many standards which related to e-business, but they are not yet compiled into single authoritative document. The auditor must gain a competent understanding of internal controls and the nature of electronic evidence. Due to the nature of e-business processing, auditors with a detailed understanding of controls will be able to determine whether evidence obtained in substantive tests is sufficient for their audit conclusions. Second one, many auditors already provide the following non-attest services to e-business, such as design and implementation of e-business software, integration with legacy accounting systems, and website hosting. According to current professional standards, firms that design, implement, or integrate e-business systems may, under certain conditions, retain their independence, but hosting a client's website will cause outsiders to doubt the auditor's independence elsewhere. And the last one is great e-business opportunity for the auditor. It is the simultaneous reduction in audit costs and improvement in audit quality that can be generated by auditing through the computer instead of the traditional way. Okay guys, that's all for today. Till we meet again in Random Budget Show.